We'll talk about some technical issues there. Welcome to the brand new Crazed to Calm show. Oh, yes, we've got all kinds of stuff going on here. All right, do over. Because I'm not crazed. I'm feeling calm. How are you feeling today? Let me know in the chat. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know how you're feeling right now. Are you feeling crazed? Are you feeling calm? How do you want to feel? This brand new show has been born from a previous podcast, some recent experiences, 20 plus years of working in health and wellness, and listening to what clients have been telling me. And so I truly hope that you are going to enjoy this new version of my video show. I'm your host, Karin Del Maestro, health and transformation coach, breast cancer, BRCA2 thriver, bounce back expert. And I've had a lot of experience at going from crazed to calm. And that's what we're here to talk about, right? How do we go from that feeling of our head being a snow globe and being shaken up and bits going all over the place to that snow globe when it's settled down? That's our goal. And that's my goal, is by the end of every episode, that's how you're feeling. It's more settled. That's always going to be my intention. And so please keep that in mind. And as always, if you've been in my circle for a while, you know I've got my trusty cup of tea with me. This is one of the ways that helps me get calm. But we're not just going to be saying that I'm having a cup of tea. I'm also going to be sharing with you the teas that I'm drinking. I often get asked, Karin, what kind of tea do you drink? Well, I bought one of the boxes here. Now, I do love loose leaf tea, and I do have some, but during the day, I often drink tea bags, and I love this brand, Buddha Teas. They have chakra teas, some for every chakra of your body, and I'll tell you why I chose this one today. And I love them because they're organic. And the tea bags are non-bleached, and so it's a healthier version of a tea bag. But why did I choose this today? Well, our fourth chakra is our heart chakra, okay? And our heart lies beneath our breasts. And so when we are talking about breast health, when we are talking about what I'm going to be sharing with you today, how I got through 13 biopsies and I stayed calm, then you're going to understand why I chose this today. We're also going to be talking about this little elephant in the room here. So again, I'm your host, Karin Del Maestro. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me today. I hope you've got your cup of tea. If you do, in the comments, let me know. And let me know where you're joining from. Where in the world are you? This show is going out on YouTube and across the globe, as well as in my Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community. So where are you? Where are you? I'd love to know. So let's dive in, right? Because I know this is really why you're here. You don't want to know what kind of tea I'm drinking. You don't want to know where I am in the world. You want to know how to get calm when you are waiting for test results. So let's dive in. Let me give you a little bit of background there first, right? So in 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and BRCA2. And since then, I've had 3 scares, some lumps that have been found, and I've had to go through biopsies. So I know how I normally feel in those circumstances. And for me, the waiting for those test results has always been the worst possible time. It's almost like when I get the results, I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Now I can manage it and know what course of action I'm going to take. But for me, that waiting for those test results has historically been an anxious time, a time where I would go into bed, snuggle up under the covers, bring my cup of tea, watch Friends repeats, and just, or Gilmore Girls, something that's like got a really calm cadence. And I would just hide until I had those results. Is there anything wrong with that? No, not really. But What I did this time was very, very different. And I'm going to go through the exact steps that I did. But the first one, and I want to tell you how I came to have 13 biopsies, right? It's a lot. So I recently, in March of this year, 2023, found a lump in my chest. This was following a really heavy dose of COVID. I'd been really sick. I'd lost a lot of weight. I'd been in bed for 2 weeks. And I found this lump on my chest. Now, I have footprints where my breast once lay. I don't have breasts anymore. I don't have implants. I don't have deep flap. I went flat, which for me looks like concave. And so I was feeling this bump on my rib, and I went to get it checked out. So the first course of action that they took was a CT scan. Okay. That one I was anxious for. I was anxious for that because here I am, the mind's spinning. It's like that snow globe that gets shaken up. And I'm going to all of the different eventualities, like, oh my gosh, what if it's this? And what if it's that? And what if it's this? And what if it's that? What am I going to do? What, my new grandson, my husband, my kids, like just the way that our mind does, right? That crazed feeling, that snow globe feeling. When I got the results of the CT scan, I was very calm. And they told me the bone looks clear. Okay. It's like that long exhale, right? When we get this good news, because we know what it's like to not get good news. We know what it's like to be on the receiving end of those words. You have cancer. We know what it can look like. And so hearing those words, I did an exhale, but there was a but that followed. As my oncologist looked at those results, she said, but we're seeing something in this area here. And this area in the middle here is called the mediastinum. It's the gap that is under your sternum, which goes here, so your rib cage. And it's the gap between your lungs, where your heart lives, your esophagus. A lot of things go on in there. And they said, but we're seeing something in there that we don't like the look of. So, and we're also seeing something in your lung, Karin. So again, I went from snow globe like this to snow globe like this in an instant. And they did a PET scan. And from the PET scan, they got the words that my doctor said to me was, your PET scan is lit up like a Christmas tree. Now, normally that would have sent me into a complete tizzy, complete snow globe action, snow globe on repeat, heavy shake, right? Mind going nuts, heart racing, palms sweaty, not being able to sleep, not being able to sit still, eating sour cream and onion potato chips like they're going out of style, because that would be that's my comfort food if I'm going to have it. That's why it doesn't come in my house, by the way. And so when my mind kind of came to terms with that, and I was sent to see a pulmonologist, and we started to talk about next steps. And he said, okay, Karin, what we're going to do is a bronchoscopy. We put you into a twilight state. We put a bronchoscope down, and I'm going to take some needle biopsies to check on these lymph nodes and see what's going on. These were abnormal lymph nodes, again, in that area called the mediastinum. And so he booked it for the following day. And for those of you that have been through anything like this, when you get something, when you see a doctor and they book a procedure or a surgery for the following day, you start to get scared. I'd heard your PET scan is lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm scheduling you for the next day. And I was calm at this point. I was calm. And part of the reason I was calm was I knew that it was out of my hands. I knew that I couldn't change or control the outcome of this test. Now, we all know it's really easy to say, let go of what you can't control, but it's not so easy to do it, right? It's really difficult to actually do that. But I was I was. And so thankfully, these results just took 3 days. So we didn't have to wait for too long. And there were 6 biopsies, needle biopsies that were done. The doctor called me 5:30 on a Friday. Didn't think I'd hear from him then. The phone rang and I was like, oh no. But he was calling me with good news. And he said, Karin, your biopsies don't show any sign of cancer. But the way that PET scan is lit up, I'm not sure that that's accurate. And I said, but you took 6 biopsies. And he's like, yeah, I know. But what I loved about this was that he was advocating for me. He didn't just say, oh, it's good, Karin, you're good. There was something niggling at him that said, Karin, let's keep looking. Let's keep checking. And so we did. Now, what did that mean? It meant that the following week, I had an appointment with a cardiothoracic surgeon to do a surgery called a mediastinoscopy. There's no test. Don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to spell it because it's a mouthful, right? It's called a mediastinoscopy. So what it is, and that's what this is from. I can't get it here. That's what this scar is from. So it's actually a surgery where they open up here and they go in and take a bigger chunk of these lymph nodes. And so then we had to wait 10 days for the results from those 7 biopsies. He took 7 biopsies. And this was when I truly started to practice some things that I had not done before. Because 10 days is a really long time when you're waiting for results. And if you've experienced that, let me know in the comments. Because it seems to just go on and on and on and on. And it's a long time when your mind is spinning. And when your mind spins, by the way, it's exhausting, isn't it? It makes you tired. It drains you. It sucks you dry. And so I knew that it wouldn't serve me, logically, knew it wouldn't serve me for my head to be spinning. But I was like, okay, what I've realized is every time that I go through a scare, my PTSD from my original diagnosis is triggered. And if you didn't yet know, 82.5% of breast cancer survivors have PTSD, much of which is undiagnosed. It's not something that your doctors are talking about. It's not something you're being told. But if you notice that you are being triggered by getting scans, or when you see somebody on TV that's got breast cancer and you've got a show then that you can't watch. That happened to me, like happened on Grey's Anatomy. It happened on a million little things, a show that I was really enjoying. And then the whole storyline shifted and I couldn't watch it at that point. That's because we are being triggered by the trauma, and it is a trauma, when we hear the words, you have breast cancer, or you have cancer, any kind of cancer. And so you've got that going on, which normally is going to trigger that anxiety. You may also experience people around you saying, don't worry until you have to. It's nothing. I don't know about you, but that drives me crazy. How do you know? You don't know how I feel. You don't know what this triggers for me. You don't know how scary it can be. And I know that people are well-meaning when they say this, but it's not helpful. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, maybe I've done that from time to time, right? We want to be helpful. They're well-meaning comments, but instead you might want to say something like, oh, I can imagine that this might be tough for you. I'm here if you want to cry or laugh, if you need distracting, or if you just want me to come and sit with you. These would be better things to say instead of telling somebody, don't worry. Because in my experience, the second you say to somebody, don't worry, what are they going to do? We're going to worry. It's the human experience, right? So our doctors don't tell us about PTSD. People say all kinds of well-meaning words to us. So I want to share with you my 4-step method to go from crazed to calm. And this is what I did this time while I was waiting for these 13 biopsy results, which, by the way, all came back clear for cancer. We're still exploring some other things, perhaps sarcoidosis, other forms of inflammation, things like that. But we're still exploring, but we know it's not cancer. So I want to share with you exactly what I did this time that was different than last time. The first thing I did was I said, Karin, can you control this? No, we can't control what the answer of that test is going to be. There's nothing about that we get to control, right? So if we can't control it, why are we going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning on it? Instead, we want to hit the pause button, the timeout button, the take a breather button, right? Something that gives you the permission to say, literally, I can't control this. So I'm just going to hit pause for now. And if you have to say that 50 times a day, then you say it 50 times a day to remind yourself, which you may have to do when you start trying to do this. And I'm going to be sharing more of these tips, by the way, in an upcoming workshop. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We're going to really do a deep dive, and I'm going to help you create your own Crazed to Calm plan. So we start by saying, can we control it? Then I want you to ask yourself, how do you normally deal with trauma? What's your survival mode? Is it fight? Is it flight? Is it freeze? Or is it fawn? There are 4 of them. So fight, we tend to get defensive and we're pushing and we're argumentative with people. Flight, I'm a flighter, right? Go into what I always referred to as my cave. Go into my cave, withdraw, go into the bedroom, watching Friends or the Great British Baking Show or something super easy, Gilmore Girls, cup of tea. I flee. I literally remove myself from, I don't want to say from my clients, certainly not, but from my personal life. Yeah, I'll hide out. That's been my habit. I didn't do that this time around. I'll tell you what I did instead. Freeze means, again, and I'm part freeze as well. So it's like you just get stuck, but you can't do anything. Your head's spinning, but you're stuck. And then fawn. Are you fawning over others? F-A-W-N. I know it's hard with my accent. Sometimes people are like, Karin, what are you saying? Do you, instead of dealing with this for yourself, do you just focus on everybody else and what they need? So I asked myself, what is my normal survival mode response? Because that PTSD is going to trigger that response in me, and it's automatic. It's automatic. This is a response that is built into us. This is a response that we have done for our entire lives. But when we know what our survival mode response is, we get to do it differently, which is what I did this time around. I said, okay, so Karin, I'm going to challenge. This is me talking to myself, right? Karin, I'm going to challenge you now. If you normally do that, how about you get on the phone and you reach out for support from a few people? That's the opposite of what I would normally do. So what did I do? I called a few people and told them what was going on. I chose those people really carefully, and I advise you to do the same, because you want people who are not going to be doom and gloomers. You don't want people who are going to be judgmental. You want people who are going to be supportive and just listen to you and hear you and support you. Not always easy to find, but I am fortunate to have a few of those people in my life. And so instead of going into my cave and into my automatic survival mode, I did the opposite. I did the opposite. And what I didn't realize in doing that was I changed how my nervous system was actually functioning. And without going into the science too much, when we are in survival mode, we're in a sympathetic nervous system. When we're calm, we're in a parasympathetic nervous system. And so in my cave, I would be in my sympathetic nervous system, right? I'd still be anxious. I wasn't doing anything about that. But this time I chose to do it differently. And by sharing with the right people, getting support from the right people, I was able to shift along with some other practices, and I'll be sharing more about those over the coming weeks, don't worry, but shifting to my parasympathetic nervous system. That shift was the conscious change that I made. And you get to make that too. When we know what our survival mode is, again, I'll be covering this in the workshop, and then you know how to shift. So powerful, so powerful. And I remember talking to my therapist and saying, I'm not sure if I'm calm or if I'm numb, right? Have you ever felt like that? Because that's that freeze response, right? That numbing. And I said, I don't think I am, because I'm really looking at this very closely to see what's going on inside. And so she took me through a process where we notice what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're touching or tasting, what we're feeling, going through all of our senses. And she said, okay, what shifted for you? And I said, nothing. She said, you're not numb. You're calm. I was like, whoa, I'm really calm. I knew I felt calm, but I was really calm. And of course, after 20 years of working in health and wellness, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to share with others how I'm doing this so that you can do it too, right? I'm not going to keep this to myself. And so that's where this whole brand new video podcast came about, was my need, my desire, my purpose in sharing with you so that you can do this too, right? And so I looked at, what can I control? I looked at, am I going into my survival mode? Is that automatic response happening? I looked at what we call open loops in our brain. These are things where we're saying, I need to, I want to, I should. It's almost like your ongoing to-do list that is always popping up in your brain, right? If you ever had that, where you're always saying, oh my gosh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do, and it's just spinning in your head, right? We call those open loops. And what they do is they suck you dry. They suck your energy dry. And of course, you can even tell by the way I'm referring to it, right? Because I know what it's like. I've been there. It's like that snow globe being shaken up. So again, if we want that snow globe to settle, we got to close the loops. If we want to preserve our precious energy, which is one of those things that is very precious after our cancer journey, we need to close those loops. And so I practiced that. Again, something I'll cover in the workshop with you. And then the last one was to look at my mindset. Who's hanging out in my head? I have two wonderful women who live in my head. Let me just take a, no, I don't have different personalities. And I think that you probably have these two women too. Their names are Nancy and Pamela. And I mean, no offense to anybody called Nancy here whatsoever. Nancy is negative Nancy. She's that voice in your head who's super hard on you, right? The one that beats you up because you're not doing enough, or you should be calm. She uses the word should a lot. You should be calm. You don't know what it's going to be. Wait until you know the results before you start to, worry and get anxious. Or do you have positive Pamela up here, who is your biggest cheerleader? And she's like, you've got this. You've got this. And you can stay calm right now. You can stay in that calm place. Because however I react doesn't change the circumstance. And so I hope that makes sense for you. So no, we don't want to worry until we have something to worry about. But we do, right? I mean, it's human experiences. It's what we do as a human being. It's important to know that PTSD could be a factor, with 82.5% of breast cancer survivors suffering from PTSD. So being triggered by tests and scans and doctor visits, oncology visits, anniversaries that come up of your diagnosis or of surgeries. These are all extraordinarily difficult times and can be very, very challenging. These are the times especially that you get to practice going from crazed to calm. You get to practice saying, what's my survival mode? And how can I shift that like I did? I didn't go into flight and freeze. I kind of dared myself. Karin, I dare you. I dare you to be uncomfortable. I dare you to do this differently and see how you feel. And all of that came from a place of observation, a place of curiosity, and not judgment. I knew that what I'd done in the past wasn't working. It wasn't making me feel good, right? I was anxious. I was stressed. Your body gets tight, right? You get tight in your neck. You're not sleeping well. You're having more hot flashes. You're feeling more achy. That's all because of the stress. Our bodies have an inflammatory response. And so the question was, how can I take care of myself better while I'm going through this period? And I'm telling you, it worked. And it worked beautifully. And so my goal is to keep doing that now in times of not being so stressed, because then it becomes a practice for when that does happen. Because I'm somebody that lives with a BRCA2 genetic mutation, and that makes me high risk. That means that for the rest of my life, every lump, every bump, every biopsy, and there will be some, I want to manage them as calmly as possible. Don't you? Knowing that it's actually available to you. Knowing that it's an option. I'm not going to say it's a choice, because it's more than a choice. You have to really put in some practice behind it. But it's an option. If I can do it, you can too. Right? And so, any questions? I know we've got some people on live. Any questions or ahas with things that I have said so far today? Let me grab a sip of my tea. Anything that's kind of got you thinking? And I know there's sometimes a bit of a delay. So at the end of each show, my goal is to leave you with a crazed to calm tip of the week. Just one simple tip to help you go from crazed to calm. Is that good for you? I hope so. I hope that works. But this way, one simple thing. Now you might be saying, well, one thing, Karin, it's not going to do anything, right? I hear that a lot, right? One thing. We always start with one thing. It's how we build and we build and we build and we build by taking small, purposeful steps. It's how we build. Do not knock the one thing, no matter how small it is. And I see here we've got somebody asking, great question, how do you close the mental loops? I will be covering this in depth in my upcoming workshop, so look out for that. But essentially, it's almost like you want to do a brain dump of them, right? You want to get them all out of your head and onto paper. You can look at, what can I delegate? What can I let go? What can I delete? What doesn't need to be done? And what can I do? And is there one action I can take today towards doing one of those things? Okay. So that's kind of a snippet of how we do it. When we do the workshop, and then it's going to be called the Crazed workshop. You will find out about it if you're in my circle, if you're in my Facebook group, or if you're on my email list. You'll certainly hear about it. It's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm just finalizing all the details on it right now. But that's one of the things that we're going to be covering in this live workshop. We are going to be doing. This is not a me talking. This is an interactive. You will come away from the workshop knowing exactly how to do this for you, because it's such a big topic. And it's these mental loops, these open loops, right? I should, I have to, I want to, I need to, all of the that spins and spins and spins uses so much of our energy and our focus. And when we're suffering with fatigue, brain fog, body aches, lack of motivation, hot flashes, mood swings, things that are very common for us after breast cancer. This is one of the things that we can do to not only calm us down, but to boost our energy. So it's a big one. It's a big one. And so I hope, I don't see your name, sorry. If you're watching on Facebook, if you allow access to StreamYard, then I can see your name. But I hope that that gives you a little indication. You're going to look at it. You're going to brain dump it onto a piece of paper, see what you can delegate, see what you can delete, and then take one small step towards one of the things that you can do. And we start to check it off. It's almost like we need a filing cabinet in our head, right? We're going to be talking more about that in the workshop so that you can do that. So great question. Great question. I will be covering that in more detail coming up. So your Crazed to Calm tip for this week, let me just bring it up for you guys, is ask yourself, when your head is spinning, ask yourself, can I control it? And what does that mean exactly? It means, can you personally affect the outcome? So if we think of something like COVID, for instance, which caused a lot of anxiety for a lot of people, understandably, worldwide pandemic, but what could you control in that? You couldn't control what was going on in the world. You could control your part, your home, you're wearing a mask, you're washing your hands, whatever part of that you chose to do or not do, right? Can I control, just like I had to do earlier, can I control my biopsy results? There was nothing I could do that I could control those results. It was already written, whatever it was going to be. And so when you find your head shuffling around like that snow globe, ask yourself, can I control it? And if the answer is no, then you get to let it go. I know, I hear you. All right, Karin, how do I let it go? Right? I know. We're going to cover that in the workshop. Because again, saying it and doing it is not the same thing. And I'm the coach that helps you do things. I'm the coach that helps you get the transformation. I'm the coach that helps you do all the things that you know that you should or ought to be doing, right? I'm that coach. I'm not the one that's just going to give you more information. I'm the one that's going to actually help you do it so that you get the transformation in your life. So that's your tip of the week. Write it down if you need to. Ask yourself, can I control it. One of my favorite ways to remember things, new things that come up, is to write a reminder in my phone and have it pop up. I've got two in my phone right now, one that pops up at 7 a.m. and a different one that pops up at noon every single day. And I look at it. I don't just like delete it. I look at it and I sit with it and I say, okay, am I doing that? It's a great way to start to bring in these new habits that are going to help you go from crazed to calm. Okay. So if you want any of the information from today's show, you can head over to karendelmaestro.com/blog. And the show notes will be there. There will be a replay of the episode over there. There'll be a link to my favorite tea over there. Everything that I've referred to in today's episode, including a reminder of your tip of the week, will all be over there on the blog in 24 hours. Let's give the tech fairies some time to do their thing, right? So I hope this was good. Please let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy today? How did you feel about the new format for the show? If you were previously watching the Heart to Heart, let me know. And let me know what makes you feel crazed so that I can answer your specific questions. Or if you want to come on and have a conversation about how you manage it and get calm in your own life, I would more than love to do that too. So thank you so much for watching and for joining me today. Again, my name is Karin Del Maestro. I'm the host of the Crazed to Calm show and your health and transformation coach. And have an amazing week. I will see you next Wednesday, 3 p.m. tea time. That's right. Eastern time on Wednesdays. You're so welcome. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.